Welcome to the Visions and Ventures podcast, presented by Bonaventure Bookkeeping. Today we're going to be interviewing Max Neace, who is a producer here in Kentucky. He has produced more recently Shift and Red Chamelia and some other movies that we'll talk about. We'll talk about the film industry. We don't really touch on accounting too much. He is both a close friend and a client, and I hope you really enjoy this episode.
Basically, whenever you apply for the tax incentive in Kentucky, which is why movies shoot here, you have to have a third-party audit that comes in at the end to make sure that everything you're spending is correct.
Gotcha.
He's the guy. So
Is he based here in Kentucky or?
But he works in Georgia a lot, and I think like North Carolina, a bunch of different places. But
Oh, so does he do the auditing side of it? You're saying
he does both.
He does both.
Like
but
he
you
did
can't typically.
If
I mean,
you
it might
are
be
the
different for film
yeah.
credits, which are different than other things.
if you're the production accountant, you can't audit it.
You're right.
But
Okay.
because he knows the audit so well, like he's doing Red Chamelia for us and Oddities, which we just shot, and so he's like, I'll come in and do the audit because 10 Key was our accounting team.
Right. That makes sense.
So then he plays ball with indie producers, which is nice.
All right. Well, cool. Well, we already have experience helping with audits, at least. I mean,
Yeah.
we have some construction clients that do year-end audits and stuff
I
like
think
that.
I think you have to be approved by someone. There's like four.
Well, sorry,
new
I
board
mean
members.
like assisting with an audit. Not in the sense we can't do. We're not a CPA
Right,
company,
yeah.
so we don't do audits. I just mean like we're used to interfacing with CPAs who are trying
Yeah.
to do an audit and stuff like that.
That's like the big question mark for every production because it's did you spend it correctly, and then how can you maximize your spend to
Right.
make sure that you capture whatever.
Is
credit
there
the state is gonna
something
give you.
that goes into spending it correctly? Is it just saying like we're
It's
making sure that
mostly-
you didn't buy like a hot tub for you guys to party in, or is it like
No, it's like Amazon purchases don't count.
Really?
If you're ordering stuff from out of town, a lot of times it doesn't count. So you have to buy as much as you possibly can in Kentucky and spend
Oh,
in Kentucky.
yeah,
so
that
it's like
makes sense.
just paper trail of
Mhm.
proving that that's where it is.
But the Amazon warehouse is in Kentucky.
You know how
So,
many,
like,
you know how
that's
many
interesting.
Amazon warehouses?
Yeah,
I got?
yeah. That's,
Well, I
that's
mean-
like all. Like I just ordered stuff like while we've been waiting for you, and it's all gonna be delivered today.
That one's
in
murky.
Kentucky.
People say it doesn't count. But
Yeah.
Like every production I've been on, they order a ton from Amazon.
Yeah.
And we're yet, knock on wood, to run into an issue where they're like, you spent $100,000 less than what you said you were going to spend.
Yeah.
It's like, that's crazy because we had to order things on Amazon. But there's all these weird rules you just have to like follow. And I don't even know all the rules. I just know the vague idea of the rules. So when people are like, can I go buy this in Cincinnati? It's like, no, we'd rather you buy it here in Kentucky.
Makes sense.
Interesting.
So, what are the movies? So, what is Red Chamelia about again? And what are some of the other movies you were just on?
Red Chamelia is about a small town waitress whose traumatic brain injured older brother is accused of murdering the town homecoming queen. It's like a murder mystery, sort of like Mystic
Oh.
River.
Mm-hmm.
It's a pretty dark and intense movie.
Is
Just-
it dark all the way through, or is it kind of like have release valves like Shift does?
No, Shift is like tonally
Yeah.
a completely different movie. That movie's like me in a bottle. And this movie is like if I didn't have a sense of humor, it would just be like, wow, this
Oh.
is just kind of intense and sad the entire time.
Oh.
I kind of I don't know if this is going to be my cup of tea, but I do think that one thing that's a huge issue across all forms of media right now is people not taking their thing seriously. Like
I agree.
everything has to be
Yeah.
self-aware or just like funny.
Mhm.
It's like doesn't have to be.
Yeah, a lot of stuff gets quippy. I feel like Marvel and even
Mhm.
DC to an extent are great examples of famous people that stand in front of a green screen and just like say B-level jokes to each other. And
Mm-hmm.
people respond to it because it's easy to watch most of the time.
Mhm.
It's my complaint with animation. It's like
Yeah.
it took me a while to realize that that's what's wrong. But like the primary problem with American or Western animation is that it literally does not take itself seriously. It doesn't convince you of this beautiful magical world with these characters that you're invested in. It's actually just like, here's the premise, and now we're gonna make a bunch of fourth wall breaking jokes for an hour and a half.
Yes.
And you're like, what?
Yeah. The fourth wall break is kind of exhausting. It's way more fun to live in the world and exist there. I just watched Whisper of the Heart, which Miyazaki wrote, but he didn't direct. That movie's incredible.
Yeah.
It's a really good movie that
It
is
is
really
a
just
good
a slice of life about a young girl in high school who's falling in love for the first time.
Mhm.
Like, they only go to a fantasy world once, and it's just in her own story.
Yeah.
But like, It's such a watchable, good movie.
That's the one
Yes.
the kids have seen, right?
I think so. We watched it when we were
We were
packing for a trip.
When we were putting together like a Christmas
or
present,
Christmas
putting together one of their
presents.
Christmas, like their little
Christmas
kitchen, and we
Just had it
watched
on in the
was
background.
It's so good.
it
Yeah,
is.
was a great
We're
movie.
big Miyazaki people. We
Yes.
love, and they've seen. Wait, he's Porco Rosso. Too,
Yeah,
right?
Porco
Yeah,
Rosso.
the kids
Better
love
Pig
Porco
than
Rosso.
Yeah, that's my favorite movie.
Every time they see an airplane now, they're like Porco Rosso.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've been watching through his filmography, and I
Yeah.
had to go back to watch Whisper of the Heart, and Porco Rosso is incredible.
I
Yeah.
think that's why the animated Spider-Man movies were so beloved. Is that the animation's unique. There are several engaging characters in there, but also despite it being a concept of that could be super self-aware,
Yeah.
and in certain ways it is,
Mhm.
but it's self-aware in the context of we know this is a Spider-Man movie about lots of Spider-Man, but
Yeah.
it's not here's I don't know, here's just some reference to Bob Ross out of nowhere, something just totally fourth wall breaking.
Yeah.
It's it wants you to be invested in the characters and the story they're
Yeah.
telling you.
I mean, Spider Pig is so human that it's impossible not to attach
Yeah.
to him. Yeah. But yeah, we made Red Camellia last year, and then here in Kentucky, we also made this movie called Goblin here in Kentucky, which is about that movie is wild. It's a wild movie that may never be released. The story is crazy
Really?
because basically Goblin is about a physical puppet, and it's like a buddy comedy with this guy and his pet puppet, and it's a raunchy, weird movie that is really unlike anything I've ever seen. But what I learned, I was just in Pennsylvania working on this TV show, and a Deadline article came out that said A24 to produce David Michelson's Goblin, the Goblin, for their own studio. A24 is one of the biggest indie studios that exist right now. They're barely independent, but they essentially have come in and they love David. This is equal parts inspiring and devastating for the Kentucky film community that worked on Goblin because they like David so much. They like the script so much. They are essentially trying to make the Goblin, and they're going to bury Kentucky Goblin. So our version of
new movie.
so our version of Goblin that we made, there's a good chance that it'll never see the light of day because everyone loves the script. So it'll probably attract some big talent. They're going to make it for a bigger budget than we made it for. And it's amazing for David. That's fantastic. Living the dream as an independent producer or an independent film director and writer who has no connections outside of just this one screenplay that A24 now is going to try back and
is
make.
going to come in and he's going to be the star of it.
I mean,
He's gonna
exactly.
just take
They
it.
always, yeah. I mean, it is a wild story that everyone was reaching out to me afterwards and they're like, "Is our movie just never going to come out?" And I was like, "Probably not."
Yeah.
Wow.
And if you tell anyone Ryan Reynolds, will get you.
Exactly. Yeah, he'll break the fourth wall all the time. Unbelievable Deadpool movie.
Oh,
And then we made another movie called Oddities, which is I was told it's not a romp the other day, and it's an action horror movie.
Okay.
Adrienne Barbeau's in it, who's in The Fog and was married to John Carpenter for a long time. She's very famous. And a bunch of kind of younger stars that are becoming more popular. And we just recently wrapped that one a couple months ago. And it's in post. All three of those are in post. We're going to finish Red Camellia on Thursday, actually, here in Kentucky.
Wow.
So.
Nice.
When does that come out? Is there will it just come out in theaters? Or is it a more? It's actually going to go to film festivals.
Yeah, we'll do the festival route for that one. Probably if Goblin comes out, I don't know if they'll do the festival route because I know it's complete. There's a post house called Post 237 in Kentucky that's they're the best in Louisville. We use them for everything. I've worked Shift. They did Shift. They did pretty much everything I've ever touched. And once it's done there, Red Camellia will definitely go to festivals. We'll apply to the big ones. Oddity is going to go to festivals. Goblin, TBD. We don't know what's happening with that. But yeah, we'll see how it turns out.
That's so cool.
That is exciting. Maybe we should back up a little bit and have Max introduce himself and tell us
Sure.
just a little bit about, I guess, how you got into film and everything like that.
Where are you
Sure.
from? Are you from?
Yeah, where are you from? We ask everybody that because so far you're our first local.
Aaron and I went to grade school together, so it's hard to introduce myself in front of him. Ruth Ann, who I've known for a long time too. No, I'm from New Albany, Indiana, so I'm a river rat right across the river. I just swim over when people ask me to come. Yeah, I got into film. I mean, I don't know, at a young age. I feel like when my parents wanted me to be quiet for a while, they would just take me to the movies. So I used to go to the movies a lot as a kid. And then in high school
A
and
good
grade
kind
school.
of screen time.
Yes. Yeah. In high school and grade school, Aaron was involved in a lot of these. We made a bunch of YouTube videos that are equal parts terrible, and it's inspiring, like the Goblin sale. but they were super fun, and that kind of got us into storytelling. And then in high school, we started to make the like homecoming videos. We made one that people seemed to respond to, and then I went to college at NYU for film school. I moved to LA after that, and kind of just kept working in the film industry. I was an assistant at a couple talent management companies. I was terrible at that job. And then there were some movies that were shooting in Kentucky, Don't Tell Soul and What We Do Next, that I got involved in. And that kind of started my producing career. And then really in the last couple of years, I've been producing a lot of stuff. It's been like
Sounds like it.
a constant kind of flow of projects, which is good. And hopefully it continues, but it's exhausting. And it's been a good time. Yeah, that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Nice. Do you ever think about reviving one of our old movies into a real one?
No.
Okay. Still think, what is it with the flies and the crowns? What was the name of that one?
Oh, God, what was that one? Did we make a sequel to that, or
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
We actually had plans for the end of the trilogy, and it was going to be a musical.
Oh, wow.
But you and Grant and I were supposed to write it together, and at that point, our friends would always hang out, and so it was too hard to separate and actually like commit to writing a script.
Yeah. All because of the spelling bee.
All because of spelling bee.
Because we
I still
performed that
think that
in
we
front
could
of
turn
our-
that into an anime.
We
We
pro-
could
oh,
make
totally.
AI turn it into an anime.
What? So many ethical questions are coming over.
Wait, we're not allowed to do that.
The yeah, I mean, all because of spelling bee would be fun. We performed that actually as a play, didn't we, in front of
We did.
Holy Family?
Yeah.
Wow.
We were
See, so
young
it
for
actually
that
all
one.
started in the theater, like it does for everyone.
There you go.
But
Yeah, we did we did a lip sync in junior high as well, where we
Yes.
basically quasi wrote the storyline.
yeah, we
Wait.
did. Yeah, we kind of took it over for
Yeah.
sure.
I remember Aaron showed me when we were dating. I think it was your NYU like submission video, the like
Which
the
Aaron stars
printer. Yeah, the Aaron stars in. So that's why
on
he showed
YouTube
it to me.
somewhere.
It does.
And
exist.
I loved it. I actually have told Aaron a few times, like, will you ask Max to send that to us? Because I want to watch that again. At the time, I was so amazed by it. I'm sure I would still be amazed by it, but
yeah, it's on Vimeo for sure. It
Okay.
definitely exists there because I would have recently been uploading stuff as we submit to festivals.
yeah,
It's like surrounded by these old projects that I've made. And yeah, Time Machine Wednesday. That was a fun one.
there you go.
Yeah, that
I
was a
really
fun
liked
story.
it. I thought it was
Thanks.
fun.
Yeah.
That's how I won her over. I was like, I'm a movie star.
yeah, he told me he was an actor, but
It's true. He's acted in many things.
yes, all Max Neace productions.
Some better than others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Does your personal LLC get utilized in any fashion, or is it just kind of like a
Now that I've been working as a line producer, everything goes into that.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
whenever any kind of payroll that I'm on, or even if it's just like as a contractor, they pay me through that anymore.
makes sense?
So yeah, that's what it is now. 9 films.
9 films.
Mm-hmm.
Is your name Max 9 on credits, or is it just Max?
Only if I direct it.
Okay.
And the differentiation I've made because I don't want to explain it to all these producers that I meet and work for sometimes. I'm just like, I just put Max Neace's. Especially like if I'm line producing, I have no involvement in the creativity whatsoever, really. I just like, it's similar to accounting. You're just like making sure the books are straight, which is like a hilarious thing that I do now. But yeah, I mean, I just control the budget and make sure the schedule and we stay on track.
Yeah.
So I don't even really go to set that often when I'm line producing. I just like stay in the production office and make sure all the pieces are there. And then they can go play in their sandbox.
I guess if you were too strict about it, somebody along the lines would mess it up, and then you'd be like, "You're messing up my credits." Like I always have Max 9.
Exactly. It'd be unbelievable. It would just be unfathomable.
So do you have anything to do with these films being in Kentucky, or do you just join them because of or just because of the people you know, or is it all of the above, a little bit of some?
I mean, definitely because I'm from here and
Mhm.
my family has lived here for such a long time, my whole life, and most of my brothers, who's in his 40s, they were pretty well connected in the
Mhm.
community. And after I worked on Don't Tell Soul and What We Do Next year, which was What We Do Next was during the pandemic. Don't Tell Soul was pre-pandemic. So like the landscape changed a little bit. But as I got more involved in producing, even in Los Angeles, it was like a lot of people started to call me, and just because they knew that either I was a line producer or a
Mhm.
producer of some kind that had made movies here, they would call me, ask my advice. And then as I started to get more involved in these productions, it was like, if we're just going to make it in Kentucky, why don't you come out and like see everything? And I've gotten to know the community over the last couple of years very well. So I have a good rapport with pretty much everyone that works here. and it's easy for me to show up and kind of hire the crew because I know who to call and who the people are that you want to hire
Nice.
and where we want to put them. So it's like it's become this really symbiotic relationship where the irony of it though is I moved to Los Angeles to work in Kentucky. So like
Yeah.
but because of the tax incentive is why so many producers are attracted to come here because you just get 30% back for whatever you spend in the state.
Mm.
It's like you're generating revenue or you can start paying back your investors right from the beginning. Or
Yeah.
if you need finishing funds at the end of it after 6 months, you're going to get it back. So,
Wow.
Since the whole revenue model is completely broken right now.
I mean, the film industry is crazy. I don't even know how people make money most of the time.
I personally just think that the big corporations should just come to an agreement with each other. Well, they should do one of two things. The more tech forward thing is that they should basically pull a music streaming situation where they should basically be like, look, we're just going to have like a handful of unified streaming platforms and we're all going to make money together. Or they could just be like, we're going to blow up streaming and we're going back to the way when we all used to make money.
I mean, honestly, if they brought DVD sales back,
Yeah.
so many independent films would make way more money because that's how they generated revenue. Like the 90s boom of independent cinema wasn't because the movies were good. It was because you could go buy VHSs and then you could buy DVDs. That's why they were popular and they made money.
Yeah.
That's the only reason. If they went to streaming, I mean, even like Reservoir Dogs by Tarantino, that was a Sundance darling, but it didn't make its money back through theatrical. It made its money back because people were buying the VHS after it came out. If that never happened, you never know if you have Inglourious Bastards and Pulp Fiction and all those movies. You might, they just would have been smaller. So to not support the independent filmmaker is always a crime, not only because I'm an independent filmmaker, but just because you don't get all of these wonderful filmmakers that people perceive as studio filmmakers. It's like, yes, but very rarely did they actually begin as studio filmmakers.
Yeah.
They were making independent small films, and then on the secondary market, they started to make a lot of money. And streaming has killed the secondary market.
I would say, do you think like streaming is like gonna go on, or do you think?
Sure.
Well, I mean, obviously we'll always have streaming, but I mean, like, do you think it's sustainable for like the filmmakers?
I don't know. It's never been easier to.
Sorry, that's a big question.
It
Like
is,
that's a
I mean,
lot.
but like
what the whole industry
I'm like, what?
It's exciting. I mean, it's a good time. It's never been easier to make a movie.
Yeah.
You can make a movie with your cell phone, and it can look professional, or you can make it look like you made it with a cell phone. And either way works as long as it's consistent. At the end of the day, you just really need a good story, and you need to know how to market and distribute your movie. Like I think the future of independent films, even if you're shooting it on a cell phone or if you're shooting with an Arri Alexa, like, is you raise half the money, whatever that's going to be. It can be $5, but $250 of it goes to the production of the film, and $250 of it goes to marketing and distribution. Like that to me is just control your own narrative.
Yeah.
There's no reason to rely on anybody anymore because you can do it yourself.
Yeah, I feel like it's easy, just like the landscape of everything. Like it's easier to, I don't know, break in is probably not like the right term, you know, but like it's easier to do it now than like ever because
I mean,
you can just do it yourself.
Yeah, you can use YouTube. Like the Backrooms was a
Mm-hmm.
popular YouTube series that A24 is producing, and that kid, he's 22. I mean, and he's directing a movie for A24 because he had a popular YouTube series. It's it's exciting. It's very cool.
Yeah.
There's a YouTube channel that I found thanks to the algorithm called, I think it's called That's a Bad Idea. I always want to call them That's Not a Good Idea. 'Cause that's what I was. It's more wordy. And it's just it's like a comedy duo. And when you go to their actual channel, you see that they have like independent, like lead produced themselves, like horror short films and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just like on their channel, just like they did it.
Yeah. I mean, I think the short market is interesting because so many people cut their teeth on shorts. And, but a lot of the times to me, it's like go make a feature and then try to make it profitable from there because you're going to learn way more. Like Shift, as an example, taught me a ton about filmmaking because it was the first feature that I was like directly and creatively involved in. And then from there, you take those lessons and you make other things.
They
I just made a
definitely
short.
seem to be two different worlds. Like even though they cross over with each other, like another YouTube channel that I had stumbled upon it's actually a couple different channels, but one of them is like American High, and it's literally, it looks like a group of friends in high school or college, like making funny high school related jokes into skits.
Yeah.
Well, then I noticed here recently that the cast had changed. Like there was like one guy who was particularly funny and was in them less frequently, was all of a sudden in them a lot, and everyone surrounding him was different. And I was like, What I don't know. Is
Yeah.
this owned by a corporation?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not like a megacorp, but it's like Pete Davidson and all these kind of like big guys. And like you click on the website on the link of the YouTube
Yeah.
channel, and they have full length movies with different like it doesn't have anything to do with those people running the shorts.
Yep.
And it's just like what I was like, I'm so confused.
Yeah. I mean, it's a wild industry. It's the Wild West still. It always has been.
Yeah.
But like, it's constantly changing. Streaming and how you get stuff out there is totally in flux.
Mhm.
But honestly, it's never been easier to make stuff. You
Yeah.
just got to go make stuff, and that's very hard to do. And a lot of people don't know how to do it from beginning to end.
I do think that that's just like true of everything.
Yeah, I agree.
Like art and the more boring making money side of things is like
Mhm.
anyone can start a business these days, and you can make it work.
100%.
I'm not saying like you should want to grind and be successful or whatever. Like go do whatever it is you want to do.
Yeah.
But like you can't. No one's stopping you. That's
Yeah,
for sure.
You're probably not going to be Amazon, but like you
Yeah.
can be
Only so many people can be
Yeah.
world altering.
exactly. Yeah. That isn't always the goal. It's just like, yeah, how do you just consistently go out and do whatever it is you want to do?
Hmm.
And there's definitely avenues to do it. Just it is difficult. It
Yeah.
takes time.
You have to put a forth effort.
Mhm.
That's for sure.
It's brutal.
Do you remember anything else?
Well, I wanted to ask, so I know you've been doing producing a lot, but like you mentioned kind of like the creative process. So like when you sit down to either write something or create something, like do you have something that you like does it just kind of come to you, or do you have like a list of ideas like, oh, I'd like to expand on that one day? Or...
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have ideas on the back burner that I think about all the time.
Mm-hmm.
That just whenever you sit down to work on them, maybe it's not the right time to do it.
Yeah.
And I don't know, whenever you're writing, if you're not having fun, you're probably doing something wrong.
Yeah.
That's even if you're writing a drama, like I don't know, I like cackle, I feel like, to myself when I'm writing because I think I'm hilarious. Even if it's just darkly funny and no one else will laugh at it.
Yeah.
I'll be like, that was really sad. I'll be
Yeah.
like, no, it's
Sorry.
true though. So yeah, I mean, I have a bunch of ideas that I am consistently tweaking, but mostly in my head, or I write down notes and then I add them to like a master doc. And then when I start to write a screenplay, I use this 8-sequence structure, which breaks down basically the writing of a screenplay into 3 acts,
Mm-hmm.
and then within each of those acts, there's like another subsect. The 8 sequences basically is what they are. And it's like a lock-in, end of act 1, like a mid-act twist, all hope is lost, kind of things like that. And it goes through, and that helps me. I just like write it out almost like a short story, and then I turn that into an actual screenplay, which has a whole different formatting. But it is easier to write than prose, in my opinion, because prose you have to like have like a seamless kind of word flow that isn't always flowery, but makes sense in the context of 40 pages, whatever it's going to be.
Yeah.
With a screenplay, it's like Jack walks into a room and then says a line of dialogue, and then Jack exits the room. Like it doesn't have to be that literary, and it can be much more just bullet points going through it. And after I wrote and directed Shift, you do kind of see what you're attracted to as a director and what you want to see. And then it's helped me as a line producer and just as a producer in general. When I read screenplays, I can be like, this is probably never going to be in it. You can just like see where in the edit people are going to take stuff out and lose things. So it's all, just one big process. But my own personal stuff it comes and goes. I haven't written anything in a while, but I've been on set for like a year.
I would say you said you've been like back to back production.
Things have just rolled into each other. So while I want to work on some of my own stuff, and I have about a month in between my next job, hopefully we'll do some of that. But like Shift is about to come out on streaming. It comes out in September.
It does come out soon?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's finally being released, which is exciting.
What's the platform?
It'll come out on like Amazon and Google to start, and you can buy it there and watch it. And then it'll stay on those, but in October it will shift to Tubi and like Movie in those.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
And those are actually where independent filmmakers make more money, because most people don't want to spend $8.99 on a movie that like
They've never
a movie
seen.
like me. They don't
Yeah.
they don't know who I am.
Yeah.
I don't have a large digital library, and to the degree that I do, it's on Apple. But if yours is not,
it should be on Apple too.
Okay, well, I'll buy it.
Thanks.
I was gonna say I'll buy it on Amazon
I
anyway.
would
But
love the $3.99 that will go into. But yeah, on Tubi, Tubi is actually to go back to streaming. That's one of the most friendly places to release your new shows, because the consumer there is really attracted to independent cinema for some reason, or they will at least try things out for 20-30 minutes before they turn it off. And because there are built-in ads, you generate revenue, if people watch 10 minutes of your show. So that is the most attractive place to actually release things. I
Yeah.
think it had a negative stigma for the first couple of years that it came out, and it was like, oh, it's like the free platform. But if you're an independent filmmaker and you're trying to make money, just push Tubi and don't worry about anything else.
Nice.
Unless you have a star.
Yeah. Is
that
it hard to
people
like
want,
get on a platform like Tubi, or is it like you just
We
apply?
have a distribution company, Buffalo 8, who
Mhm.
Buffalo 8 is an interesting company because they acquired Shift. So they we
Mhm.
had a sales agent who reached out to them. They liked the movie and they were like, hey, we want to be the ones that release it. And they release independent movies like Shift that are pretty low budget, like all the time.
Mm-hmm. And they acquire it in the sense that you've just entered into an agreement that they'll distribute it, or that
Yeah.
they have some kind of ownership over it now, or
Yeah, basically they do have a little bit of ownership of it for the next I forget, it's not in perpetuity, but it's 7 years.
Mhm.
And then at the end of that, if it's doing well, they can re-up it or they can get rid of it and all the rights will revert back to us.
but you keep the rights to produce toys, right?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes, the Grace Kelly chair that we're going to release. But yeah, I mean, they know the market pretty well, and they know what movies they think are going to do well and when they're going to do well. So they've been interesting to talk to about the distribution process because, I've had a movie with Universal, I've had a movie with Saban, who's another really good company.
The
And
Power
then
Ranger company.
yeah,
Oh, okay.
or there's Saban. I don't know if
Yeah.
Saban and Saban actually released the same product.
Okay. Sorry.
But yeah, I mean, Universal was the biggest one. And that
Yeah.
was Don't Tell a Soul. And, they're just like a force to be reckoned with. They do whatever they
Mhm.
want. And you're like, great, go have fun, do your thing. And then there are all the smaller companies. And we also self-distribute a movie into theaters. And that's obviously what I'm most attracted to. But with Shift, we didn't really know what we were doing on a lot of different levels. So it was nice to have a distribution company to come in and kind of handle all the back end stuff because that's where it gets a little tricky.
Mm-hmm.
With rights and how you're going to protect the movie and kind of make sure it all gets out there correctly.
Yeah.
But yeah, that'll come out soon.
So regardless of how much the movie will now produce some amount of revenue.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
cool.
Yeah, and I mean, it'll be out forever. So after 7 years, if the rights do revert back to us and our deal ends, we'll either just put it back on to Tubi
Mm-hmm.
or other streaming services because you can do it yourself. It's not impossible.
Yeah.
It's the hardest part about it is Post 237, who I'd mentioned before, you have to go through a quality control process, and that takes I don't know, 4 or 5 months.
Mhm.
And basically every streaming service has to look at your completed DCP, which is just like a digital cinema package and they have to make sure that it works through all of mobile, streaming on TVs, on desktops, whatever it's going to be. And if there's any kind of hiccup in that process, they reject it and you have to start over again. So that's what takes a long time once you get distribution to make sure everything's approved.
That's interesting. Did that process exist before streaming, or is that like a modern thing?
There's definitely ever since. I mean, I don't think when you went to VHS or DVD, there was definitely a quality control of some sort,
Mhm.
but it was simpler because it was Laserdisc. It just read the disc,
Yeah.
And then with VHS, those were terrible quality anyway. So
Yeah.
what are you gonna miss if the sound doesn't work?
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say though, streaming's kind of terrible quality though.
It can be.
They're
for sure.
they're always you're like, oh yes, this fiber internet. I'm gonna why oh it's fuzzy.
Yeah, I don't know why that is. I don't know what the data of it is that slows things down. I mean, I know it's mostly not the file itself. Normally
Right.
that is
No,
fine.
yeah.
It's definitely the internet that
Mhm.
messes it up. So I don't really know.
Mhm.
Once you get to a certain level of distribution, it becomes complicated. There's a huge curtain
Mhm.
that exists in front of you, and peeling it back is fun to do, but it's
Mhm.
also just no one knows
You
the
don't
amount.
know what you don't know.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah. And it's impossible to even anticipate some questions and needs that do pop up. And then on top of that, no one really knows the amount of work that goes into making a movie until you've
Mhm.
made a movie because production is one of the most blue collar jobs in the world. Before that, you're just trying to raise money and make a good business model.
Mhm.
And then you enter into this manual labor field for a month or a month and a half where you're actually making the thing. And then you just sit in front of computers all the time and you're editing the project for 4 or 5, 6 months, depending on how long it's going to take.
Yeah.
And then once the movie is complete, like you have to find a way to ship it out into the world, and that on top, that is where I think most people don't know what they're doing, and myself included. Like I have a better opinion on how to do it than some independent producers, just because I've seen a lot of movies get released in different ways. But even so, once you really start to get into the negotiations and the different kind of deals you can enter into, MGs, and just like how everything's going to work together, it is a lot. And you definitely need lawyers, you need accountants, you need a bunch of people that are on your side that like you can trust and know they're out for your best interest, because distribution companies aren't always looking out for your best interest. They're a business too. And they're
Yeah.
trying to, yeah,
They want to make money,
Shocked
you know. So
Pikachu face.
exactly, yeah. I mean, but it's a fun process. It's just different for every show. So you're like, okay, we're at this stage. How do we creatively make sure that it is maximized and there's actually a consumer base for it?
So this makes me think of the video game industry right now,
Mhm.
where Nintendo is a video game company, largely, you know, as we're getting older, I think this is probably changing a little bit, but nonetheless, it is largely run by video game producers,
Right.
video game programmers.
Mhm.
The most famous of the people, Miyamoto, the guy who made Mario, and Iwata, who used to be president during like the DS and Wii era, and he died probably a decade ago of cancer or something. They know what it takes to make video games, both old and new ones, and so they value their content like to an aggressive degree. Like Nintendo games don't go on sale. If they go on sale, it's like here's $10 off because it's some super specific day.
Right.
But outside of that, they're like, Assassin's Creed comes out and like 30 days later, it's in the $5 bin at Walmart. That will never happen with a Nintendo game.
I love
And they had to fight the president of Nintendo during the Wii era. He had to fight them to get Wii Sports packaged into the console because it wasn't packaged in Japan or a lot of places. He was like, no, it's just like the perfect game to explain what the Wii does. You should just pack it in. And they're like, you don't know what it takes to make a video game. We don't give away our video games. And now like Microsoft and Sony are blowing up the industry, or at least they're blowing up themselves. They're trying to move towards everything multi-plat, everything kind of being able to stream a video game.
Right.
And they're just going to run into the same problem that the movie industry's ran into, which is that you're destroying the association between customer interest and cost of production and revenue production.
Oh, totally.
And Nintendo is over here. They've essentially now won the console wars because everyone else is like saying like they just don't want to do it anymore. And they're like, no, if you want to play our games, you will buy them and you will buy our console.
Yeah. And that's what you got to do.
And I think like one of the problems within the movie industry is that you don't have, there's so many layers to go make, like, in some sense, of course, video games have gotten so big, the teams have gotten big, but also in a certain sense, you have the people, like, you have just programmers who make a game. Whereas like in a movie, it's like you have a writer, you have like people behind the camera, you have people in front of the camera.
Yep.
And so that in a certain sense, the people who make a movie, it would be more difficult to have the people who make the movie be the people who also run the big corporation because there's so many types of people that make the movie.
Exactly.
But it would be interesting if there was even just one company that kind of filled that role to help stabilize the rest of the industry.
Yeah, and I think there's places for it. Like we're going to go back to like the 50s eventually, I think, where studios will actually own theaters and won't be like AMC and Great Escape, and those places will probably exist. But like A24 just bought a off-Broadway theater in New York. And like they're probably going to put on plays there. That's what they're going to do. But if they were to buy like the IFC Center in New York or places like that, and they can just funnel only A24 movies going into these theaters, those theaters will become really popular. Neon is another really popular. They've won the Palme d'Or at Cannes like 5 years in a row. It's crazy.
Or even if they didn't exclusively release, those ticket sales would no longer have to be so aggressively split.
Right. Exactly. And they're just like, okay, this is just all us. And you know basically what you're getting into. You can then split it with Disney or whoever else you're putting in to the theater. But I mean, that used to be the case. I don't know if it'll go back to that because theatrical release is in a weird place that clearly there's an attraction there. Like you look at Weapons, which is not an independent film, but made by an independent filmmaker to a degree. That did really well. There's a lot of indie horror that is doing very well for itself.
I think it's coming back.
I think
That's just literally my personal, like, I have no, like, nothing behind the scenes about,
Yeah,
like,
just
but just
good.
from, just from, like, my, just seeing everything, I'm like, I think it's coming back. Like, like, going to the movies, I'm like, I love to go to the movie.
It's the
It's a
best.
whole experience, but even, like, some local theaters started doing, we actually even drove, like, an hour to do this, like, twice last year, where they do flashback cinema, and
Yeah.
they'll show, like, old,
Mhm.
and I'm like, for example, I've
Gone
probably
with
told
the
you this before,
Wind.
my favorite movie is, like, Titanic. I love
Yeah,
that
great
movie,
movie.
and they released it in theaters, and I was like, he took me because I was like, "Can we please go see that
Yeah.
movie?" Like, I would love to see it, like, on the big screen, you know? I'm like, it's totally different. It's an experience, and
It is,
so
yeah.
And we get to see Gone with the
we
Wind in
saw Gone
theaters
with the
as
Wind
well.
back in February.
That's a great movie. on the screen.
Yes, that's awesome. So I think that that's coming back. I even, like, emailed a movie theater to be like, "Are you bringing back flashback cinema?" Because I really like that.
Yeah, that stuff's awesome. One of
yeah.
my favorite things about living in LA or New York is they're like the different theaters that they have that show different things is unprecedented. 'Cause you
Really?
can go see like obscure movies that never play anywhere. They
Yeah.
don't play in Kentucky or they don't play, you know, in Middle America. They're just like mostly on the East Coast.
Mhm.
Like one of my favorite ones is the American Cinematheque is like this amazing group that just puts on movies and they have a bunch of awesome Q&As with
Mhm.
either retired directors or working directors now and writers. They come in after before a show and we'll introduce it. And they do Bleak Week in June, which is just like they show the most bleak movies for 2 weeks, and it is like the most soul sucking
Great
experience.
with the Family Friends.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They showed that I think this year.
I
And
still haven't seen it. We
it's
own it. And I
amazing.
haven't seen it because I'm like, I don't know when I'm at a point in life, like in high school, college, like you want to be melancholy sometimes and you have no responsibilities to stop you from just engaging in that.
Exactly. Yeah.
But
That's
I'm
what
like,
Bleak Week's
I
for.
don't want to be depressed when I'm trying to deal with 4 children.
Well, I watched this movie with a buddy of mine called Fat Girl, which is this like insane French movie that is really it's slow cinema to a degree up until the very end. And I've never had a theater experience like that because the theater was packed. Everyone collectively gasped, walked out just like sunken and hollow-eyed. We're like, oh my God, that was an unbelievable experience.
That's
that we're
wild.
like we will never forget together. It was amazing. It was so much fun to see. But stuff like that, I love going to see old movies in
Yeah.
theaters.
Well, and like nostalgia is like in right now, you
Oh,
know, like
yeah.
everyone's all about nostalgia. And so I'm like, the movie theater, it's coming back. Like it's in to go to the movies.
It would
Right
be a
now.
bad thing though that if going to the movies was purely nostalgia because that means its time is still limited.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
but
true.
like the Academy Museum also has really cool old screenings, and they typically show Academy Award-winning things. But they're about to have a Jaws exhibit that are
Oh,
like
that's
those are
cool.
fun events to go to where you just like walk around a room and they show you how they made Jaws. It's just a museum,
Mhm.
but then they'll show it in their theater. And their theater, while they don't serve popcorn and is a crime, is an amazing place to go check out movies because they have really interesting people come in and introduce their films, what depending on how they made them, or just like historians that know a lot about the project and will just kind of give you a rundown of this is what it took to make this movie, and then you sit there and watch like Lawrence of Arabia or Das
Nice.
Boot,
Oh,
and you're
wow.
like, fantastic, this is exactly what I'm looking for.
Yeah. Have you heard of, I think I'm getting the names right. Have you heard of the new concept for Alamo Draft House?
I mean, I've been to Alamo quite
So
often.
I think, I don't know if it's inside the same building. It might be like a new concept in a new building, but
Yeah.
they're like doing this thing where you can like rent out just like a cozy, luxurious room and have like a new movie that's out for film or out for release to buy tickets for, like play for you and your private like group of friends to just hang out and
Sounds
do.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love going to the movies with random people that I don't strangers when they're a good audience. You just never know what you're getting into. But
Yeah.
when you all just have like a neuro hive mind, you're like, oh wow, this is working. Nothing's better than that.
I don't feel like I've seen a lot of movie. I haven't seen a movie probably in a packed theater since like the Marvel heydays.
Weapons was pretty packed when I saw that. I saw Sorry Baby recently, and there weren't a lot of people in there, but that's like true specialty box office.
Mm-hmm.
Great movie. Definitely would recommend checking it out. Superman was packed. I mean,
Yeah.
But
We
that's
saw
another story.
Superman.
Wasn't packed
But we
when
saw it
we
on like
saw
an
it.
afternoon.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like, yeah.
there are definitely. I feel like there was one other movie that I recently saw that had a really good audience. Oh, 28 Years Later.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a sequel,
Right.
sort of.
But it was kind of like a long time coming
Yeah.
type of sequel. So
And that movie is really good. That's
Yeah.
a wild watch too. Wasn't at all like the first two. And the first two are different from each other as well. But Danny Boyle's just an interesting filmmaker.
yeah. Oh, that's Danny Boyle.
Mhm.
I didn't realize that. I haven't seen any
He
of
made
those
the
three.
first one. I mean, the first one is like a masterpiece. They shot that in like DVR.
That's
and
cool.
They just like cleared out London. It's pretty amazing and made it for a low budget. The second one's like I think Josh Duhamel is in that movie. Is like one of his. There's a lot. That cast is stacked, but it was like before they were all famous, and it's just an action movie, really. And 28 Years Later is unlike those. Just about people trying to survive on Great Britain still. 28 years later,
Yeah.
but it's good.
It's The Walking Dead.
Sort of, yeah. The rage virus. They've evolved. It's crazy. It's a fun watch.
What do you think about Superman?
I thought it was fun.
Yeah.
I thought it was fun. For
I
sure.
liked it. Yeah. I think it's going to be that Marvel you wanted to watch from beginning to end. And I think what DC is doing will be you can watch them sort of at any point. And it'll be like sort of a plug and play.
Yes, we actually, sorry, we talked about this after we saw it, that I was like, I feel kind of like, and this is I don't know really much about superhero stuff. I've seen like
Yeah.
the Marvel stuff, but even then I'm like, I just know from the movies that I felt like with Superman, like I walked into like the sequel and I was like, where are we at first? But then it became apparent what
Yeah.
was happening. But you know, like, well, I don't want to give any spoilers away, but you know,
Yeah.
but it was just like I'm a little confused at first, but then once you get going, you understand like what's going on.
They just
but,
assume the universe has existed.
yeah,
which is
assume that you
fun.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that will make it more interesting to watch later on
Mm-hmm.
than it will be maybe to start the new universe.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I had a bunch of nitpicks that like cumulatively made me be like, yeah, it was good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But like it definitely I wasn't like it's still it's like yeah, the whole genre does not need to go away, but they both DC and Marvel Studios they just need to learn to produce 1 to 2 films a year and keep
Mhm.
pace and just calm down.
Yeah, I mean it's impossible to keep up with it. I've never seen Peacemaker and I will never
Yeah,
see Peacemaker.
I'll never see Peacemaker. I don't care about the TV shows. At
Yeah,
all.
right, exactly.
I think we've watched one Marvel TV show.
Yeah, I
We
think it
watched
was because I was like postpartum and we were just
been
laying I was laying in
interesting
bed
one.
all day.
Yeah. Well, I liked the run it was based on,
Yeah. Oh, I see. Yeah.
which is of course loosely based on.
Oh, I
But
mean, of course.
it was still fun. The yeah, whatever. The writing for Kate Bishop is miserable, but but that's okay.
Yeah.
They're learning their lessons on all that stuff, so I don't have to beat a dead horse there. But I mean, what if you got to produce like a high budget either genre or even a particular franchise? What's one that you would like to be involved in?
I mean, I think it would be super fun to make a Magic the Gathering
Yeah.
movie of some kind. I don't even know what it would be about because the world is
Yeah, it's a
the different
multiverse.
planes are
Yeah.
crazy. I mean, you can do all kinds of fun stuff. I think that one would be cool to do. It would also be fun. There's a Stephen King, it's actually a Richard Bachman novel, his pseudonym, called Roadwork that I like a lot.
Mhm.
Those two would be fun. And then the last one would be The Tomb, which is Repairman Jack, the first novel in the Repairman Jack universe,
Okay.
which is like, that book is amazing.
What's
and
Repairman Jack? I don't know anything about that.
oh man, the guy, the author's name is currently escaping me. He wrote, it's this wild book series of like 20 books, and they're all about Repairman Jack. But originally, Repairman Jack was going to be a standalone novel.
Mhm.
And the character was so popular that he then expanded it out.
Hmm.
And when you get into the middle of it, it gets to be kind of slow, but he ties it into this really big universe that F. Paul Wilson is the author's name. So F. Paul Wilson wrote Repairman Jack, The Tomb, which is a masterpiece. The rest are then tied into his like dark universe. And Michael Mann, one of his first movies that he directed, he did Heat and a bunch of just classic movies. He made The Keep. And The Keep starts this whole dark universe for F. Paul Wilson, and then Repairman Jack gets involved later on. And Chris Mangano and I, who made Don't Tell Soul and What We Do Next Together, are trying to get the rights to The Keep because the Michael Mann's The Keep is a crazy production story where the movie isn't that bad. There's like a young Ian McKellen is in it,
Okay.
I think before he's a Sir. And it's about these Nazis that take over a castle in Romania, and then there's a monster in the castle. And it goes from there. But Michael Mann, special effects supervisor at the time, didn't write anything down. and he was like, it's going to be this crazy, yada, yada, yada. And then he died before they shot it. And there were no notes or anything. So the end of the movie is a mess. Like, you just have no concept of what's happening because no one did. The guy passed away before it happened. And it's remembered as one of Michael Mann's weaker movies. But the book is really good to keep. And the movie really isn't that bad. It's a pretty good movie. Michael Mann is objectively a good director.
Yeah.
But I would love to make The Tomb. The Tomb would be a great, like, horror.
What's the like elevator pitch on The Tomb?
Basically, Repairman Jack is like a fix-it guy.
Mhm.
So he's not exactly a mercenary, but he's hired by people to find missing people or find missing things. And he's hired by this wealthy Indian man to help find this amulet. And the Rakoshi get involved, which are these crazy, like, Hindu monsters. And it goes from there. It starts off as just this, like, crime novel,
Right.
and it becomes this huge
supernatural.
Yeah, supernatural thing. It's awesome. I mean, it is such a fun read. It was a blast to get through. That one I think would be a blast to do. So Roadwork, The Tomb, and Magic the Gathering.
Magic the Gathering, if done well, because that's one of those things where if it's done well, you could pull off a modern Marvel.
Totally.
You could pace yourself. You could have different movies that aren't connected, and set in their own stories and their own worlds, and then the Planeswalkers could come together for a larger
Nico Bolas,
for the Avengers,
or the Eldrazi are doing their thing.
Right. But I feel like the problem at this juncture is that those are the types of movies that also need big budgets, and so then you have to make sure that
Totally.
you make your money.
Yeah, it would be ridiculous, but that was the genesis of the question, right? It's
for sure.
Yeah, if we have $300 million, let's put Jace and Vraska in a room together and watch them duke it out as, multiversal beings. That's radical.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to resist going Avengers right away.
Yeah, in like the second movie or whatever.
Exactly.
It's like, you don't need to do that.
Yeah, follow Soren Markov on Innistrad. Just make it a horror movie. Like that
exactly.
sounds cool. Yeah, like an ancient vampire fighting angels. I'd watch that movie. I'd watch it right now.
Nicolas Cage would probably want to star in it.
I mean, let's go. Let's do it. That would be fun.
So what, I guess, sorry. You obviously went to school like to be a filmmaker and stuff, and so right now you're producing. You said a combination of just, I don't know what the difference is between a line producer and a not line producer,
Sure.
but still a producer.
Yeah.
But like, what are your long-term goals? Like, do you want to continue producing for a long time as long as that's something you enjoy, or do you want to do more eventually, kind of maybe phase out and just go to filmmaking, like your own things, or what's what's the path? I guess
for there to be a demand of Max Neace cinema. There just isn't one right now. But like, if I could just phase out and become a writer, that would be great. Show up on set, and eat a donut. That's when I know I've made it. And people are being like, "This is really stressful." I'm like, to me, it isn't. It's over. You paid me. I'm just here because they asked me to come.
Yeah. Flip a table over and be pissed that it's not exactly.
No, I would just eat a donut and then I would leave. I would be there for 15 minutes and I would leave. Like, set, unless you're directing or you are creative producing or you're one of the crew members, is a pretty supremely boring place to be because I mean, it's a lot of hurry up and wait. Like, you see 90 minutes of a month of shooting.
Yeah.
That's a lot of footage that they're getting and a lot of time people are spending just setting up lights. And it's all a very important job, and it is fun to watch and be involved in. It just depends on your involvement. So like line producing, you're dealing with the crew a lot, but it's mostly about pay, what they need to allow the director or the producers the tools they need to do something creative. And then you're just making sure the budget's on track and you're scheduled correctly. So you're always looking ahead. Problems pop up all the time that you're trying to solve and you have to pivot. That stuff happens a lot because your schedule's always changing. But like, line producing is an office job most of the time. You're just there in front of your computer trying to anticipate the needs of production. A producer is like, they oversee the whole project from beginning to end. So they find the script, they develop the script, they hire the actors, they hire a line producer who hires the crew most of the time. Once the movie is made, they oversee it with the director. They make sure all the creative decisions are kind of aligning in whatever project they want it to be. If it's a horror movie, it's a horror movie. It's a horror drama, they have to walk that line. They oversee the edit. They oversee all of post-production. The director is normally the strongest creative hand, but producers have a big say too because they normally bring the money in or have had the project for longer. And then they also oversee distribution and make sure that the movie goes out there. And you basically work on a movie the rest of your life when you produce it. It's like a child. It just like exists
Wow.
with you now.
Mm-hmm.
And directors, depending on the stuff that I work on, a lot of people are writer directors
Mhm.
because they're trying to generate their own kind of gravitas in the world. So they want to write something and direct something. There are a few projects I've worked on that the writer was independent to the director. And there's benefits and drawbacks to both. But for me personally, I would love to just phase into a writing career.
Oh wow. Okay, so just writing.
Yeah, that would be nice.
That's really
But I
cool.
like producing. It's fun. You meet a lot of cool filmmakers and just genuinely interesting people that a lot of them too are trying to make their own projects, and then hopefully you can work together down the line.
Mhm.
And yeah, I think honing creative relationships are some of the most satisfying relationships to have in the industry.
Mm.
There's plenty of people that I work with, and all we do is talk about money, or all we do is, just talk about the problem that's happening on set. But the people that I respond to the most and work with the most are the ones where we have creative ideas that don't always align. We disagree a lot, but we both understand that we're trying to make the project the best that we can be. So it's fun to disagree with them because
Mhm.
then you're like, there's a give and take where
Yeah.
a lot of the times they're correct and some of the times I'm correct. And then there's somewhere in the middle that is probably the best for the
Mm.
project. And that's why producing is fun because you're like, is this the best idea for the show? And someone will adamantly believe that, and some people will not. And those are the most fun conversations. Developing scripts is one of the best parts of the job, and editing is one of the best parts of the job. Everything else in between is like a battle.
Yeah.
I
It
feel
can
like
be difficult.
editing is probably one of the best parts of the job because of how integral it is to how the final product is presented.
Yeah,
But it sounds so arduous.
it is, and it's awesome. I love the editing process. I think
Yeah.
it is so much fun because it's the last time you write the movie, which so
Mhm.
back to my sensibilities as a writer, it's what's attractive to me because when you're in production, it's all just what could be. It's all
It's basically a bunch of raw material.
it is.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, you're just like right now everything can be anything, and then when you get into the editing room, it's like this is what we actually captured. So how do we make it interesting?
Mm-hmm.
And you can do whatever you want. Like that's like Shift as an example. The first cut of Shift was like a silent movie. It was a
Yeah.
totally different movie than the movie that people see when it's released.
And
Because
we've seen both.
yeah, and I like the more quiet version of the movie, but I do think it would turn more people off from it, where it's just like
Mm.
this really patient movie about a guy watching other people. That's all that it is. And then we made it a little bit more fun, so that it has a little bit more of attention to catch. But that was all just a really long editing process.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't like, not all of it was written the way that it was written. We changed a lot of it around. You can move scenes. No one knows where anything's supposed to be or what it's going
Right.
to be. So you can just really mess around with stuff. And it's so much fun to find the threads that everyone is finding interesting. They're like, oh, this is fun. Let's see where it goes. And you just keep pulling it until you get deeper and deeper. It's like a locked edit. Editing is a blast. I think it's great. But it is
I feel
very
like the
time-consuming.
earlier cut of Shift, it feels closer to a movie from a prior decade
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
because,
And,
because it is more patient,
yeah,
and maybe even the style is less obvious.
right. And that was definitely the idea behind the script was like, I mean, the movie is Rear Window. If you
Right.
see Rear Window, it's
Which itself is
yeah, it
an old
overlays it.
movie.
You could overlay it, and it hits a lot of the same beats, and that was intentional.
Mhm.
That wasn't an accident. And Rear Window, really, when I rewatch Rear Window, it's one of the best Hitchcock movies in my opinion. The movie is actually very funny. Like I laugh out loud a lot when I watch Rear Window, and I always
It's been
forget
too
that it's
long
funny.
since I've seen it.
I always think of it as this like really patient. This guy's just watching things
Mhm.
happen, but that's really not what it is. So after we had got a bunch of feedback from the patient version of Shift, we were like, well, how do we interject more life into it? Because Shift is funny, but it's a very dry sense of humor. It's
Mhm.
not like it's not the same way that Marvel writes humor where it's like a quippy back and forth, but like we did lean into that too because we were like, yeah, it's just a drier sensibility. And that speaks to me as a writer more than necessarily anything else.
Mhm.
I think dry things are funny, even if other people don't. But yeah,
Did you think about what other within that context? Because I can only name a third Rear Window genre movie, which is Disturbia.
Yeah, that was a big one.
Is there another one that comes to your mind?
There's a movie called Peeping Tom. I've seen a bunch. There's a Sydney Sweeney movie that came out in like 2022 that
Yeah.
I think it's on Amazon. That one is another Rear Window
Oh,
kind
that's
of
cool.
clone.
I don't even think I've seen a Sydney Sweeney movie, so I'll go watch that.
Yeah, it's a fun one. It's fun. They all, I think every Rear Window clone, like, it's a clone, so there's a level of diminishing returns when you're cloning anything.
Mhm.
But like, I mean, Rear Window is the masterpiece, and Suburbia is a good movie, but even that is like just kind of a fun studio movie at the end of the day.
Mhm.
Right.
Rear Window is definitely the goal. So I mean, just to try to find what made Shift different from Rear Window, besides Jimmy Stewart, Grace Kelly's in both of them, so you have to wrestle with that. Was like the movie was weird, and people were responding to the slow version, and they were like, "This movie's pretty strange," but like you're not really leaning into the strange.
Mhm.
So how do we lean into the strangeness of it? And that's what we did.
Nice.
I think mostly for better.
Yeah.
There's a piece of me that was always curious, what does the final version of it look like when it's just this like really slow movie that kind of builds to something at the end. But where it landed, I think is a fun, low budget thriller.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
What do you think that there is any? Is it just a trend, or is there a larger commentary one could have on the fact that in media, there's this drive for world building? Is it just like whether it's world building or open air video games that have to you like basically by necessity sink 200 hours into, or like 1,000, 20 books in a series?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, is it just like because we're used to content, or is there like a larger idea you think that's going on?
I feel like there is some truth to, with the rise of, I don't want this to sound too pretentious, but with the rise of social
okay.
media,
Mhm.
There's a level of people wanting to look at themselves that is a little bit more popular than maybe it has been in the past.
Yeah.
And if you can really put yourself in the middle of something that feels like it's a living, breathing thing,
Mhm.
whether that's a video game where you have to walk from one side of the map to the other side of the map and you create your own character that can look like you, and your avatar just is.
Or how you wish you looked like.
Exactly, yeah. And with book series, I think it's the same thing. Like, you want to feel like these people are your friends to a degree. And so instead of, like with Repairman Jack, instead of just finishing it on a series, what if you just turned him into a full-fledged person? Am I interested in that? Of course I'm interested in that, because it's fun to get to know him more.
Mm-hmm.
But then, the inverse is some of those books aren't as good as The Tomb. Most of them aren't, because they were conceived differently. So, like, naturally, when you get into the middle of series, even though you want it to feel like a living, breathing thing, they slow down, because it's not at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And, like, I don't think people like to be told always where to go and what to do. So it's easier with open world games like Skyrim or Fallout. You feel like you have a little bit more autonomy than maybe where Mario, you're kind of just like, you're in this dungeon. How do you get to the end of it?
Point B, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that's my vague idea.
Yeah.
I've never really had an in-depth thought about it. Do you have one?
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
I'd be inclined to maybe just say something generic about the fact that we just kind of get used to like wanting the next round of content that like, and that we've been making a lot of the same things for so long that it's hard. I mean, it's hard to stay creative, and it's hard to like a lot of producers of media, regardless of the medium, they want, rightfully so, to like make the next thing the best possible version it can be.
Yeah.
But you do that so many times, and then you're just kind of like, where do we go from here? And so like I've seen, I feel like I've seen Nintendo sometimes throughout over the decades purposefully hold themselves back for that reason.
Right.
They sometimes they'll knock it out of the park and make a game that's just like the new game, the new standard for whatever that genre is or something.
Yeah.
But they'll also just like only release one like 3D Mario platformer like every like console generation, because they know that they're just like, yeah, but we just want you to buy this one. We're not gonna like come up with the next greatest possible thing ever because we can only do that so many times.
Yeah,
Like,
totally. Yeah.
so I don't know, but yeah, I don't necessarily have deep thoughts on it, but I just thought it'd be interesting to ask.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's definitely. I think it comes back to just a lot of people want to feel like they're in charge of their own destiny to a degree.
Yeah, that's fair. I do think that there's actually a lot of emphasis on increased agency in one's life right now. I feel like I hear that
Yeah.
kind of terminology thrown around a lot.
Yeah, which is crazy because when you really start to get into things, like there's some truth to agency, but like
There is and there isn't. Yeah,
yeah, like
I mean,
there
you
is a
can
lot of
control
stuff.
how
that's
you
just-
react to things.
Yeah,
And then some people will say, but like also like my personality is a certain way, so blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, then I also had a question about animation. Do you want to? Obviously, I know we had Bonnie and Clydesdale as an idea at one point.
Still think about that one.
Still thinking about that one?
Oh yeah, of course.
Good.
That one's
I
great.
like that one.
That one's fun.
Mm-hmm.
You
I
guys
mean, I
can
would
collab.
love to work on something animated, but talk about an arduous just process that like I don't understand. I've never worked on anything animated. We developed that and I pitched it in school and people were like, "Oh, that sounds fun."
Yeah.
That's the extent of my animation career, you know? Like I think it would be super fun. That would be one of those things that if I was a creative force behind it, I would have to just be like a co-director or a producer, and there would have to be someone there that's done it before.
Well, that's largely how it works now anyway. I mean, like even with like the last round of big Cartoon Network shows from Adventure Time and Regular Show and Steven Universe and such.
Yeah.
They storyboard it and like their style that they put into the storyboard translates to the final product. Even Adventure Time was actually both famous and infamous for, depending on who was actually the director for that episode, the style of the show would change from episode to episode because they were less strict about how the characters were drawn.
Yeah.
But it was like, but at the end of the day, it was all offshore to like some South Korean animation studio.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you necessarily have to know how it all works.
I don't think you do. And I've talked to people that say like, most directors of animated stuff have no animation experience whatsoever
Yeah.
anymore. Which is
Brad Bird didn't do Incredibles, you know.
yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, there's a team of animators beneath them, but like
Yeah.
they just look at an image and they're like, I don't know. What if he was facing left? You know, and they're like, well, that's a year of work. I just don't know the process, and it would be super fun, I think, to work on something that was totally animated.
I definitely think right now, if something were, I mean, I think the whole 12 to 16-year-old audience is being like ridiculously underserved by the destruction of cable.
Mhm.
Cartoon Network almost doesn't exist anymore. There like aren't new shows for that audience now.
Yeah.
And they just recently at I forget the name of the animation or film festival recently announced some new stuff. But a lot of it within that side of the industry is just like they're bringing back another spinoff of Adventure Time and bringing back another spinoff of Steven Universe and Regular Show. So it's like the big three are coming back, which in some sense is great. And in another sense, it's like this really just shows that they are lost. Like they don't even know how to get their content to people. Like half of this is just going to be on Max and whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, and people aren't going to interact with it in the same way that, you're forced to with cable. Like you have to watch it. That's what's on.
So if you found the right art style for Bonnie and Clydesdale, there's an audience there that's being underserved.
It would be super fun.
Yeah.
I would love to work on Bonnie and Clydesdale. That would be fun. Maybe that's the only one that I still think about from time to time.
Mhm.
But yeah, that would be a great time. I also just don't work in TV very often.
Yeah.
And that production style and how things are made is totally independent of like movies.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't even know where to begin a lot of the times because you'd have to really get involved with like if you're gonna work for Cartoon Network, you got to go talk to those executives, and then you have to talk to the executive somewhere else. The green lighting process is different. How things are written is different. It's way more vertical than it is just like we have our script, let's go make it. There's a lot of approvals and stuff that happens with TV, and since I haven't really worked in it, like we were just in Pennsylvania for 3 months on an independent TV show,
Mhm.
but we treated it like it was an independent movie for the most part. So like our production style is vastly different than if we were making that for Bravo or somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a different approach. So I wouldn't even know how to start. It'd be one of those things where it's like we have a script,
Yeah.
and then in Los Angeles you throw a rock and there's a dozen people that
Yeah.
have a script too. That might be just as good, or better than yours. So it's just So
Well,
much
like a
goes
lot of
on.
things, right? It's like who you know. So
I mean, that's
maybe
exactly
through your
what it is.
network at this point, you might know someone who's like, yeah, I know someone who can help you do an animated TV show.
Probably there is probably some flexing to be done to try to dig up those people, or at least get meetings with those people.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of the people I know are independent producers that are they're all kind of mavericks doing their own thing, and then you team up on occasion, or they can't do a movie and they recommend you to do a movie. That's like
Gotcha.
how I get a lot of my work. Is now that I do have friends, and allies that are kind of speckled about the states that work on different projects, they can be
Mhm.
like, we can't do this one. They're going to move it to Kentucky. We recommended you, and then you'll get a phone call from, someone that'll be like, hey, we're bringing a movie here. Can you do this for us? And
Okay.
the
So you're
answer is
saying you can't
objectively
yet
yes.
just call it Matt Damon?
Not yet.
No, yet. Okay.
We're getting there, but not yet.
What's going on with Georgia? I hear that they're like the big studios are like fleeing Georgia. Are the tax credits just over or something?
Or is that
No.
not true? Is
Or is
that
that
is
not
that
true?
fake
Yeah, yeah.
news?
Is it fake
No, I
news?
think a lot of people are leaving the United States in general.
Yeah.
And
okay.
I mean, a lot of it, in my opinion, has to do with the unions. They're just not worth working with.
Mhm.
They are not friendly. They're not. When you're a studio movie, if you're making a movie for like over $5 million, it makes sense to go union
Yeah.
because the rules are there, everyone's protected, and they're fighting the good fight to a degree.
Yeah.
When you're under that, there's not really a reason. All it does is inflate budgets for the most part.
Mhm.
It doesn't actually change what you're going to pay your crew. It doesn't do anything like that. So what's going on in Georgia and New York, LA, a lot of places, it's just like there's so much red tape. It's not only unions, it's also like Film LA is a problem. There's a lot of people, there's a lot of red tape you just have to cut through to make anything.
Mhm.
And when it becomes too difficult, studios that are really worried about just the line and they want to make money, they're like, why would we spend, if they're going to make $100 million movie and I don't know, 20 million of that is going to go to union fringes, just like to pay people's taxes. And they can go shoot in London, and 20 million of that doesn't and can line their own pockets. Like
Yeah.
they're going to do that. I would do that. That's just like, that's good business at the end of the day. And there's less protections over there for like the individual film worker, but they want that industry to blossom, and it's blossoming because of that, in spite of what's going on in the United States.
Yeah.
So like it just becomes untenable to make movies to a degree and TV
Yeah.
shows.
Wow.
There's
I
too
think-
much you have to do it.
And
I
this
think
is like
that's, sorry, I just
sorry,
wanted
go
to say I do think that that's just a problem America is facing in general, and I do think that we're seeing the pendulum swing in the direction I think it needs to go right now, which is that like so many things have had so many regulations and so many red tapes just like bound
Yeah.
up that it's like at a certain point we've gone too far and we're making it impossible for anybody to do useful things.
Yeah, it's just hard. You're just like, okay, there's another committee to get approval from. There's
Yeah.
more rules to follow. We have to make sure this is here and this is here, and this person can't do that because they're in a different subsect of the union. And it's like, okay, this is challenging.
And I think a lot of it too also has to do with the fact that like enough time has passed that rather than being of a generation that helped establish a union or helped establish a variety of regulations to protect like genuine concerns,
Mhm.
instead you're a couple generations deep and people are just like, well, yeah, I'm here to enforce the rule because that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to enforce the rule.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, but the rule was there to help people.
Yeah.
If people aren't actually being burdened by that anymore, the rule is now burdening everybody.
100%. I completely agree. Yeah, and it's just like, okay, we can do whatever you want us to do, but it just makes us more unlikely to, or it'll make us more likely to find a way not to do it in the future
Right.
if it is that big of a problem.
Mhm.
And not everything is a problem.
No.
And they can do a lot of good. It's just in Georgia and a lot of the bigger production hubs, the juice has kind of lost its squeeze somewhat, and it just isn't. It's not being worth it
Mhm.
to the power players that can actually afford to make these big products.
Yeah.
So they're going elsewhere to do it.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of producers I know that are much farther along than I am. They're working on bigger budgeted stuff, and they're like, one of the first places we look to when we're not looking at Kentucky to shoot, when they're talking to me about stuff like that, is like Romania and London because it's more affordable.
Yeah.
London doesn't strike me as a more affordable city,
It
but
doesn't strike me as that.
it is
Mhm.
when you're working at a certain budget level
Right.
than the United States,
Hmm.
which is disappointing because it's fun. I mean, part of the, like what was the last Marvel movie besides Avengers you saw that was set in New York?
Yeah.
There probably wasn't one. Like
Yeah.
they were set in London, or they were set in a random city that they invented.
So you're telling me this is the whole reason why the second Spider-Man with Tom Holland was set in London?
It's a huge part of it.
That
Totally was. They write it
That's
into the
funny to
story
think
so people
about.
just believe it, and it's like, of course, because like, why would you not? Why would anyone think about it from
Yeah.
an economical standpoint?
Right,
That's
yeah,
not
yeah.
what you. That's not why you go see Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But that's why. It's because they can afford to shoot over there. That's it.
You were gonna say
Wow.
something.
Well, it was about the union. So I'm like, the only union I even know about is like SAG-AFTRA. So I'm like,
Yeah,
is
SAG
this...
is the actors union, and
Yeah.
then IATSE is like the crew union.
Okay. Okay.
There's the DGA, which represents directors, but also
Mhm.
like assistant directors and
Yeah.
line producers to a degree, and like, and then there's the WGA, which is the Writers Guild. So there's also the PGA, which is the Producers Guild.
No, that's
we're,
No, it's not going.
yeah, we're a club. We're not actually a union because everyone's a maverick, and it's just like after you produce so many movies, you can join, and put it on a resume, and it's fantastic. But like those 4 other unions are the ones once you get to certain, you always deal with SAG.
Mhm.
Almost every actor is in SAG. But the DGA, the WGA, and IATSE are ones, depending on what budget level you are, you will interact with them or you won't. And they all have their own subsective rules and fringes you have to pay and all these different things. So like minimums you have to spend on people, and as those start to accrue and build, it becomes it's a lot of work
Yeah.
that you just don't have to always do if you shoot somewhere else.
We're probably supposed to wrap up soon,
Yeah.
but I want to ask another question that will probably make for multiple layers of conversation, which is AI.
AI,
I think I'm currently not even the ethics of it, just like more so the viability of it, because the reality is,
No, I keep hitting my mic. Sorry.
the reality is that in some sense, when it comes to things that involve massive amounts of money,
Mhm.
the ethics actually largely don't matter. People will, after the fact, come up with good or
Yes.
bad excuses for everything. So I'm kind of, I don't want to be the guy that like uses dial-up internet in the 90s and is like, yeah, I mean, this is fun and cool, but it's not that useful.
Right.
And then like 30 years later, you have a smartphone or whatever.
Yeah.
So I don't want to be short-sighted here, but like I kind of feel like AI is getting overhyped.
Yeah, I think
I'm not
like,
convinced it's gonna actually like completely be able to take over jobs.
I don't know. I mean, I think like
It will help facilitate insane amounts of digital work for sure.
yes, I look at it
I already see that, but
specifically in the film world. Like as a line producer, one of the hardest parts of the job is building a budget,
Mm-hmm.
and just I mean, a lot of that just comes from like accruing knowledge. When you work on union shows, it can be a little simpler because they have all their rates lined up. So you're just kind of like, this is what I think the rate's going to be. When you work on smaller independent shows, you kind of have to make up numbers, and then they just have to go across the whole shoot. But like, it's just a time consuming job to build a schedule and to build a budget.
Mhm.
So you know what you're going to do. And I look at AI in a lot of ways. And when there were the strikes that happened a couple years ago, like the DGA, WGA, a bunch of them were putting in certain AI protections.
Mhm.
But what was one that was not put in was like protecting against AI to build budgets and schedules.
Okay.
And to me, you drop in a schedule into it like an AI software that can do it, and it's probably not good enough yet to do it. But to get a first draft of that,
Yeah, super
change
useful.
your life, like would be unbelievable, because then you're just going and changing numbers.
And I agree with that.
Yeah,
like
that's what I think.
I already
AI is
see
really
that
useful
type
for.
of like entry level. Oh, this is so easy to just get going now.
Yeah.
With this, or I can
Yeah.
build off of that. I
Right.
mean, I hear that with coders, despite the headlines about big companies getting rid of a bunch of mass layoffs and they're just replacing everyone with AI. What I actually hear from people who know how to code is like a lot of it's not very useful, but it's very useful to at least get you to like a
Exactly.
more from
You
zero,
get your
more than
template.
zero.
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, the hardest thing with anything, be it writing, budgeting, whatever you're going to do, is the blank page. Where you're like, God,
Getting started.
Where do you
Yeah.
begin?
Yeah.
And it's like, if you do have a template to go with, that's why like talking about the 8 sequence structure, writing
Mhm.
a screenplay, you get the blueprint of it. That's not the script. It's going to be 90 pages from 8 pages, And
Yeah.
then like, but you at least, when you're stuck looking at whatever page of dialogue you're on, you're like, oh, okay, I can come over here and do that.
Yeah.
So I mean, it is definitely a little bit
I think it's a
over.
game changer, but it's
It's
like
a useful tool.
they just keep saying that. I feel like Sam Altman is just trying to like get investors. Like, he's just like that.
Oh, totally.
It's gonna destroy the world. And it's like, if you actually thought that, then wouldn't you stop it? Like,
Well, think of all the money he's getting.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
It'll destroy the world for his grandkids. It's fine. I don't know. I mean, I think I don't use it for anything like at all.
Yeah.
But I do think it's a really useful tool, and I get why people want to use it. But what I don't like about not using it is how much of critical thinking it does take away
For sure.
from the individual. Because, like, especially when you're talking about the arts, like when you're building a budget or a schedule, there is a creative aspect to that, and it can be fun to do once you really start to get into the weeds and you're figuring stuff out. But it is nice sometimes when people are like, here's the first pass at a budget. Can you just tweak it and make it better? Of course, that's not hard, because then I can think about it creatively in tandem with the script and with the schedule to make something that financially makes sense for an independent producer.
Yeah.
But like for a writer or for an artist to get started in a way that is a little bit less than genuine, in my opinion, it totally just, why even do it? Like, what's the point?
Yeah.
What are you wrestling with besides just like an echo chamber of your own thoughts?
Yeah.
It doesn't
I agree.
make a lot of sense to me
Yeah.
to want to do it, I guess.
Do you know about Spotify?
No, what are they doing?
Yeah, so I don't know. Like, this was a little while ago at this point, so I don't. And there's already been some amount of backlash, but I really, as far as I know, I don't think they've necessarily backed off.
Yeah.
As they started at some point to say, I don't know if they ever were in the black. I don't know if they're in the black now.
Yeah.
But if they were / are in the red, they've at least made it smaller, because when people just have like auto playlists on in the background, they started inserting AI generated music so as to decrease the frequency in which they have to pay royalties out on stuff.
I mean,
I'm like, that's ridiculous.
that is what a great business model. I mean, that is ridiculous. That's insane. But that,
but like such what, like,
or like the
just such
CEO
perverse incentives.
is like dropping AI tracks and he's just getting his own royalties. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I don't know why. I just, from an art standpoint, I don't understand it. I don't understand even the attractiveness of it, unless you
Mhm.
really don't believe in yourself as an artist to such a degree that you can't
Mm-hmm.
create something yourself. And to create your first thing is the hardest thing to make. And then you know how to do it to a degree. You're like, okay, this is where
hone your skills.
my pitfalls were, and this is what people didn't react to. This is what people reacted to. I don't know. It's complicated. I definitely think it'll be around forever in some fashion. But even using it, like Google has the AI,
Yeah.
like whatever. But that's what Google was anyway. Like,
Yeah.
even when we were in high school or before then, if you were Googling something, like the first few hyperlinks that came up, you normally just read the brief description of
Yeah. The
those.
sub. Yeah. The
And that's
preview
all
paragraph.
the summary is. Like, a lot of it to me is just, it's a simpler way to interact with Google.
Yeah.
That maybe can be controlled by Google more than Google's already controlling it. But like, you know,
Yeah.
if we're gonna get conspiratorial, I just don't know. I don't know what it'll do
Yeah.
at the end of the day. It could do anything.
It could. Dun dun dun. All right. Well, there we go.
Cool.
Thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for watching that episode of Visions and Ventures podcast, brought to you by Bonaventure Bookkeeping. If you need any accounting, we focus on month-to-month accounting, whether it's payroll, AP, AR, or just bank reconciliations. We can fit your needs. We can tailor our services to your size of organization, both for-profit and nonprofit. So thanks, and have a great day.